Welcome back to week 3 of DevCamp, where we continue to explore the organizational magic of CSS. This is video 3.3, where we will go over how to use Flexbox to customize our site's layout. First, what is Flexbox? Simply put, Flexbox is a layout model which allows us to design flexible and responsive layouts. To get started working with Flexbox, we'll first want to define a Flex container. A Flex container is a box which wraps around all the elements we want to work with. The image on the screen illustrates how this works. The blue box is the Flex container, then inside the box there are 3 Flex items. So how do we code this? We're going to go ahead and use our trusty classes again. If you want to review classes, go ahead and check back out video 3.1 to get a quick overview. So we're first going to add a class to our HTML document. In this example, I call my class Flex Container. Then, in our CSS document, we set properties for that class. To make the Flex Container flexible, we set its display property to Flex. Now let's add this code to our own websites. When looking at my site, I notice I don't really like the look of my navigation bar, so I'm going to use Flexbox to make it look a bit better. In order to start using Flexbox, I'm going to start with my HTML file. I'm first going to add the class Flex Container to my unordered list inside the navigation bar. I'm placing my class here because I want to format the content inside the navigation bar, rather than the navigation bar itself. Then, in my .css file, I'm going to add the class Flex Container and set the display property to Flex. Again, I do this by writing .flexcontainer with the closed brackets. To apply Flexbox to the container, I write display::flex inside the brackets. Now let's check out how this looks. Sweet, this is exactly what I wanted. All my navigation items are now on the same line. But now they're kind of hard to read because there's no space between them. To fix this, I'm going to add padding to my anchor tag in the navigation bar. I write padding:1em inside the nav ULLIA selector. Check out video 3.2 if you want to review how to use padding with the box model. Now to make our Flex container look how we want, you can use different Flex container properties. The main ones are Flex Direction, Flex Wrap, Flex Flow, Justify Content, Align Items, and Align Content. That may seem like a lot, but we're going to go over each one in depth, and soon enough you'll be a pro. First up, we have Flex Direction. Flex Direction tells us which direction to stack items. There are 4 different values we can assign to Flex Direction. Row, the default setting, stacks items from left to right horizontally. Default just means that this is the setting which will be applied to your page if we don't add any other code. So, if we don't take the time to specify the direction of our items, our page will automatically arrange them into rows with the items arranged from left to right. Row Reverse then stacks items horizontally from right to left. Column stacks items vertically from top to bottom, and Column Reverse stacks items vertically from bottom to top. Next up, Flex Wrap. Flex Wrap tells us whether or not to wrap items. There are 3 potential values for Flex Wrap. No wrap, the default value, means all the items will try to fit onto one line. Wrap allows items in that container to wrap onto multiple lines from top to bottom. Wrap Reverse also allows items to wrap onto multiple lines, but from bottom to top. Next up, we have Flex Flow. This is simply the shorthand notation for Flex Direction and Flex Wrap. The default setting for this is Flex Flow::row no wrap. Now let's take a look at Justify Content. Justify Content defines the alignment on the main axis. It helps distribute extra free space when either all the items on the line are inflexible or are flexible but have reached their maximum size. Recall that we use the Flex Direction property to set the main axis. In the examples on the screen, we use the default Flex Direction property, which is row, so the main axis is the horizontal direction, and the items are ordered from left to right. There are 6 different values for Justify Content. Flex Start, the default value, packs items at the start of the main axis. Flex End packs items at the end of the main axis. Center packs items at the center of the main axis. Space Between evenly distributes items within the main axis. Take a moment and look at the Space Between example on the screen. Notice how the first item is on the start and the last item is on the end, so there is no space between the first and last item and their edges. Space around then creates equal space before and after each item. However, this time when looking at the space around example on the screen, notice that visually the spaces aren't equal. This is because each item has space on each side. As such, the first item has 1 unit of space between itself and the edge of the container, but 2 units of space between the next item, because the next item also applies its own spacing. Finally, space evenly creates equal space between and after any 2 items, as well as the space to the edges. When looking at the example on the screen for space evenly, notice how every single space is equal. Now for align items. Align items defines the alignment of items along the cross-axis of the current line. Think of it as the justify content version for the cross-axis, the axis perpendicular to the main axis. In the examples on the screen, we use the default flex direction property, row. As such, the cross-axis is in the vertical direction. There are 5 possible values for align items. Stretch, the default value, stretches items to fill the full container. Flex start packs items at the start of the cross-axis. Flex end packs items at the end of the cross-axis. Center packs items at the center of the cross-axis. And finally, baseline aligns items such that the baselines of the text are all aligned. Last up, align content. Similar to align items, align content defines the alignment of items along the cross-axis of the current line. Align content defines the alignment of lines where there is extra space along the cross-axis. But note that this property only works when the flex wrap is set to wrap or wrap reverse. When first learning about these properties, I was a bit confused about the difference between align content and align items. To help clarify, align content determines how flex lines are aligned across the cross-axis of a container, whereas align items determine how the items themselves are aligned within a flex line. In the examples on the screen, we use the default flex direction property, which is row. As such, the cross-axis is in the vertical direction. There are 5 possible values for align items. Stretch, the default property, distributes space evenly between and after any 2 lines, as well as between edges. Flex start packs lines at the start of the flex direction. Flex end packs lines at the end of the flex direction. Center packs lines at the center of the flex direction. Space between evenly distributes lines within the flex direction, with the first line on the start and the last line on the end. Finally, space around creates equal space before and after each line. Great job getting through all that. But before we move on, let's head over to flexboxfroggy.com to practice using Flexbox. There are 24 levels, so try to complete them all. Pause here and take as much time as you need. When you're done, click the play button to finish this section of the video. Yay! Awesome job! You've now finished all the Flexbox Froggy levels. Now that you're familiar with how Flexbox works, let's use the Flexbox properties to finish customizing our own sites using Flexbox. Find the Flex Container class we added earlier to our CSS. For my navigation bar, I want the items to sit in the center of my screen. So, let's try to figure this one out together. Take a moment to recall what property we use when we want to align the content along the main axis. That's right, we use justify content. So we write justify content, center. Now, I also want my content to wrap when the screen is smaller. So to do this, I am going to use the flex wrap property by writing flex wrap, wrap. Sweet! Now our navigation bar works well for all screen sizes. Great job! Now that we've worked with Flexbox, head on over to video 3.4 to learn how to use media queries.